Allow me to introduce myself. I am Tinashe Mujera. I'm an author, I'm a marketplace professional, and I'm a woman of God. I am a representation of tested faith. I represent my healed wounds that left ugly scars. This is the Faith in Action podcast that has been created to help you find the journey to your true self through conversations and lessons shared.
Do you think I made God angry? And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, I just feel really sad. I even get emotional talking. I'm like, God.
Shame.
But, and I looked at her and I said, do you think I made God angry?
Oh.
Because I'm really sad, Mom. And I don't know why. There was a week where 3 of my friends all passed away in the same week, like consecutively.
Sure.
Right.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Faith in Action podcast with me, your host, Tinashe Mujera. As you all know, I'm a woman of faith, and I am on a journey to empowering young girls and women. Geez, we're growing, and I'm excited to announce that this year we managed to launch a platform called Authentically Woman. It's all about events, and on the 9th of December, we are hosting a vision boarding, career boarding, and prayer boarding event under Authentically Woman. Super excited about what God is doing on this platform, and I hope you guys will come along the journey with us. I'm excited about today's episode, of course, because I am joined by a dynamic young lady by the name of Tariro Nyamayaro, a poet. She's an advocate for women's rights. She talks about mental health issues. I mean, I don't want to spill the beans. I want you all to listen and hear it from the horse's mouth. She's here with me in studio. And welcome, Tari. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I am well. I'm tired, but I'm well.
I can see that.
I'm tired, but I'm well. Do you know what? This life thing, man, but I'm good.
Yeah, this life, no balance.
It has no balance at all, but I'm good.
It's the year-end fatigue.
You know, like, it's like burnout. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just tired, but I'm really excited to be here with you. And again, thank you very much for having me.
It's an honor to have you, darling. Tari, you are 21, 22.
Yeah, I'm 21, actually.
21 and doing so much. Can you believe it, guys? 21. Tell us about, I just want to hear it all. I want to hear everything. I mean, I've been on your social media pages and I'm really wowed about the work that you are really doing. I mean, I've seen you do your poems. Wow, girl, well done. I want you to please tell us about your journey and what has led you to really, get into the space of really wanting to empower women or advocate for women's rights, and why you think it's so important, but also what led you to talking and really also speaking about mental health issues.
Okay, yeah. So as you've already said, I am a poet, a social activist. I think that's how I want to say my brand.
Nice.
And I think coming from a family where both my parents are social workers, so I think I was exposed from a really young age to advocacy issues and community development things. It was very important for my parents to kind of expose me to the world and show me how other people live outside of the privilege that I had. And that kind of shaped my view of the world.
Wow.
Which I think I'm very grateful for, obviously, now, because I think it's empowered me as a woman to be able to use my voice and the opportunities that they gave me to do the work that I'm doing and advocate for other people who can't do it on their own. And I think the central things that I am involved in are mental health issues, as well as championing women's rights and girls' access to education. I think that's probably my 3 main areas of, I don't want to say areas of expertise.
Of
Wow, I was
course.
about to blow my own trumpet. But those are the things that I'm most passionate about, let me rather say. And I think it's really important because, I always ask myself, if not me, then who? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had the privilege of going to really good schools. I've had the privilege of, I haven't struggled for anything in my life, but I am aware of the fact that other people have struggled.
Yeah.
And so with my position small privilege. Why can't I use what I have and what God's given me to help other people?
Wow.
And I think that's when poetry came about as well. You know, like I wrote, I think I wrote one poem one of these days. I don't know. I wrote one poem, and I kind of like put it on Instagram tentatively. You know, I was like, let me just throw it in there and see if it lands, and it did. And there was like a really great response to it, and people really engaged with it. And I was like, wow, this is actually a tool I can use to advance the work that I was already doing in terms of advocating for the mental health and women's rights and all those kind of things.
Wow. Well done, Tari, I must say.
Thank you.
For a 21-year-old to be talking the things you're talking right now, I think is amazing, really. One thing you said now, which just stood out, is, if not you, then who? If not me, then who?
Then who? Exactly.
Guys, if not you, then who? In all the areas that you find yourselves in or what you're passionate about, if you're not going to take a stand and really go in hard on it, if not you, then who? We've had it all from Tari and her journey and how she has landed on being a woman's rights advocate and speaking about mental health issues. But you also spoke about bridging the education gap.
Education gap, yes. Like
yes. Tell me more about that.
So increasing access to girls' education. So I think education is one of the biggest tools that we have for empowerment because an educated person is a person who's able to advocate for themselves as a person who has access to opportunity, access to furthering their own personal circumstances. So kind of finding ways to bridge the gap that exists between girls' access to education in the developing world. So obviously, because, you know,
that's right.
Of various different issues. But I think it's really important that girls are given the opportunity to have opportunity. So championing education is very important to me in that respect. I work with Girl Up Zimbabwe back home, who also champion girls' access to education.
Nice.
And we just want to make the world a fair, man.
I'm telling you.
We just want to make the world fair. That's the simplest way for me to say it.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's also very important.
Lovely. I'm going to go into the second question, Tari. I don't want us to lose this floor because I want you to really tell us the deep things.
No problem.
In your opinion, what are some of the key mental health issues that you think young girls and women face? And why do you think these things are not spoken about in society?
So I think the key, in my own personal experience, the key mental health issues that young girls face, it stems from the pressure that society puts on us as girls. You know, as girls, there's so many things that we are told that we should be, you know. Like from a young age, you should be a good wife. You should be, you know, you should be educated, but you mustn't be a smart mouth. There's so many, you know, like nuances about the type of, before you've even figured out who you are as a person, the world has already told you who you should be.
Oh, yes.
And so I think the mental health issues that stem from that are things like anxiety. I mean, you get really anxious because you're like, I don't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be doing it. Do I even want to do this? And like that constant battle within yourself, with where you see yourself and where you want to be versus where other people, whether it's your family, whether it's, you know, society itself, whether it's the pressure that you put on yourself as a person, that battle creates an environment where your spirit is just anxious. You're constantly anxious about everything. You're anxious about letting people down. You're anxious about failing. You're anxious about not going where you want to go in life. And so I think that's definitely one of the key mental health issues. And then from that anxiety, also things like depression will come because, you know, if you're constantly in that tug of war battle with yourself, there's really little room for happiness, but there is a lot of room for darkness. And sometimes you find yourself in this dark place that you don't even understand. Like, how did I get here?
That's it.
Like, I know I'm not okay, but how did I get here? Why am I here? How do I get out of here? And within our society, especially in African communities, unfortunately, mental health issues are not things that we take seriously, I want to say. It's that thing of just be strong. Ugh, you're just sad.
You get over it.
You'll get over it. What do you mean you're sad?
Yeah.
Like go and run outside or something.
Please,
Find
Africa.
something to do. Don't talk about how you're anxious. What's anxiety? Do you know what I mean? But also because there is that lack of communication and that lack of advocacy around those things, that it's so isolating that when you find yourself in those situations, it's even more overwhelming because who do you talk to?
Yeah.
If I come to you and I'm like, I'm really, really sad today, and you tell me you'll get over it, I'm never going to talk to you about that again.
That's true.
I'm never going to come and tell you that I'm sad because you've made me feel like what I'm going through, I'm overreacting, I'm over-exaggerating, or, there's bigger things in the world to worry about than my sadness.
Yeah.
And so it just creates a situation where people face these things, and just because there's a lack of communication around them or a lack of advocacy around them within our communities doesn't mean that people aren't going through them. It just means that people are going through them silently.
Sure.
And that creates a dangerous situation because the silent battles are often the battles that we lose the most. Yeah.
Jeez, you throw so many nuggets in. I can't keep up, Terry. I mean, jeez, that's powerful. That's really powerful. I mean, you speak about the pressure to perform and societal expectations that really sometimes are not reasonable.
Yeah.
You are born with expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
You were not given an opportunity to decide.
You didn't even breathe yet, and they said,
I mean, this is what a girl
this
should be.
is what a girl should be. This is what a girl does. This
mean,
is what, at this age, you're ready to get married. If you're not married, you're doing something wrong. If you don't have a child at this age, you're doing something wrong. But if you have a child too early, you did it wrong.
It's also a problem. What do you want of me?
What do you want of me?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And within that, you still have to figure out what you as a person want. You still have to align your own goals and then reconcile those with the goals and pressures that other people are putting on you. And it's not easy.
It's not easy. And what it reminds me of is, the platform I spoke about, Authentically Women, that we really launched this year. It's really literally a platform that God entrusted me with. And we talk about such things like, who are you before the world told you who you are? Who is Tari? Because Tari is not a student. She's not a daughter. Yes, she is, but she's not defined by that.
Those things, exactly.
She's not someone's a girlfriend, maybe. She's not a mom. She's not a teacher. She's not a manager at work. She's not a pastor or pastor's wife. There is a bigger definition that God bestowed on you, which is your true who, that you need to uncover and unpack and define for yourself between you and God. And once you get that, then whatever society has said you are does not matter anymore. And I think really, I love what you're saying because it so aligns with the vision and what we stand for, even, on this podcast, Faith in Action. So really, really thank you for sharing those nuggets. And I think it's key that young girls, I mean, you're 21, you're talking about, all of these things. It's important that, young girls get access to maybe platforms that really can help them, in terms of defining these things for themselves. Because sometimes people are actually anxious and they don't know, or depressed. They just can tell that there's something wrong, but they don't know what to do.
What it is.
What other platforms? I know you run a lot of different platforms. You did speak about Gelap. Is it Gelap?
Yeah, Girl Up Zimbabwe.
Gelap Zimbabwe. Yes. What are some of those platforms that young girls, a young woman, a young girl listening right now or watching us right now is saying, oh, I'm actually going through this and this is what I need. What are those platforms that they can come to and get help?
Okay. So in terms of in the mental health sphere, especially in South Africa, so the South African Depression and Anxiety Organization, they provide resources for people to come and find out about what mental health issues are, first of all. So just creating awareness around what mental health issues are. Like, as you said, sometimes people don't know what they're going through, or you know, those kind of things. So that platform exists to create awareness around those things, and you can also find resources there to help you. They can put you in touch with therapists. They really just help you. They even have a call line where you can just call and talk to someone free of charge if you just need to talk to someone and tell them what you're going through or what you're experiencing, which is really cool. So I do work with that organization a lot. And then in terms of women's rights and things to do with gender-based violence and finding out more about that space, there I work with Women for Change South Africa, as well as South African Women Fight Back. So there we have programs in place to help victims of gender-based violence. Also, we advocate for victims, speak on behalf of victims, and also just, again, create awareness around those kinds of issues, femicide, gender-based violence, and, you know, how also, like, the education gap, as I spoke about, creates an environment where those things flourish. So, yeah, those are, I think, the main platforms. Obviously, there's a lot, but I think those would be the main ones.
I think you've shared quite a few. Thank you, Tari. I mean, for anybody listening, you've heard about those platforms. We will also take them, in the comment section, so that you can have access together with Tari's details or her social media pages, so that you can be able to contact her or DM her directly if you've got any further questions, and she can assist. Or if you're actually going through something similar, anxiety, depression, a gender-based violence situation that you can't talk to anybody about, she is there to assist and really direct you to the right platform. Tari, I want to get into some more practical or more real stuff where, I mean, you talked about depression, and it just triggered a time where I actually went into depression. I don't get sick. I am this, people say I'm very strong. And, it's us, the people that, call strong and say, hey, you've got this, that actually get into these situations. You know what I mean? And I found myself in this situation, not like this year in March. I went to Vista Clinic. I was depressed. How am I depressed? Work. And I found myself in Vista for about 2 weeks. I went there thinking I'm just going to consult with the girl psychiatrist. Hello, am I mad?
Am I going crazy?
Like, what is this?
Exactly.
And the lady was like, you're highly depressed. We're not letting you go. We are, what do you call this?
You're getting admitted.
Like now. And I stayed there for 2 weeks. I couldn't even see my daughter. And I didn't know I was depressed, but I could see the things that were happening around me. I was not okay. I was forgetting things. It was so bad. What was the question again?
You wanted to get into
I'm getting
practical.
emotional. I need to my real story. There we go. I
Yeah.
wanted you to tell us also about your experiences as a young girl. And because when you sent me your profile, you also spoke about real, like things you've gone through as an individual. Because sometimes people think we talk these things and we don't know. It's easy to say, they're just talking. They've never experienced it. They've never been there. We've been there, guys. And I've already shared my experience. What was your experience?
I think I'm trying to think of one experience. I think I would say I was probably in grade 9.
Ooh.
I was probably in grade 9. And I'm an only child. Okay, so I think that's also an important preset for it.
She said only child.
I am an only child. So, it's just the 3 of us at home. It's mom, it's dad, and it's me. And I don't know how to explain what I was going through, but I knew that I wasn't okay. And in trying, I remember I sat with my mom, because I was at a Catholic school at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember I sat with my mom and I said to her, I think we were watching TV or something. And I was just really down that day.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I couldn't, if you asked me why, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I just felt like my spirit was so heavy. And I remember we were watching the show and I looked at my mom and I said, do you think I made God angry? And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, I just feel really sad. I even get emotional talking.
Shame.
I'm like, God.
Shame.
But and I looked at her and I said, do you think I made God angry?
Oh.
Because I'm really sad, Mom, and I don't know why. And I wanted the sadness to stop. And I think that saying, I want the sadness to stop, that scared me.
Sure.
Because I'd never been in a place where, I'm a happy child. I'm happy. I'm an only child. I'm spoiled. I go to the best private schools. I have everything.
Sure.
And yet something was just not okay. And she looked at me and she said, Sorry, what are you talking about? What do you mean you made God angry? And I said, I just want to know if I'm being punished for something.
Sure.
And I think her reaction at the time was obviously out of panic because she's like, what's my child going through? And she also doesn't know, what's going on. And she just said to me, pray about it. All right. And I did. And I think I never spoke about it for a while after that because I also didn't want to see her sad.
Yeah.
The fact that I had scared her scared me, kind of scared me into silence also because I didn't want to talk about such big things and make her sad or make her feel like I was ungrateful for the things that I had or, so communicating what I was going through became even more difficult. Not out of her fault or her not allowing me to, just out of my own personal guilt. And I think that's the other important thing with depression is you guilt yourself into coming out of that space because you tell yourself, get over it. You're fine. You have everything. What are you sad about?
Wow.
And so I think that was probably like one of the highlights. I think the first time that I probably battled with a mental health issue to that extent. And over the years, obviously there would be small little other experiences, other moments where, I'm sad or I'm really anxious. And I think my one also is like really around anxiety. I put a lot of pressure on myself as a person. And sometimes I over pressurize myself. So I get anxious about everything. My grades, I get anxious about in the next 5 years, am I going to have a job? Am I going to be where I want to be in life? Am I going to be, and I panic. And that's probably one of the other things that I've been battling with, that I constantly battle with, honestly, even today. So, yeah, I think those are my experiences.
Amazing, Tari, and thank you really for sharing that and really going deep in that because I believe someone is being helped right now because it's easy for people to assume that you've got it all together. Why are you depressed?
Yeah.
It's not about what we have or don't have.
Yeah.
It's depression. You can have a little child. Just what comes or flashes into my mind now is that little girl who went viral with Albany. She can be right there in the rural place going to buy an Albany bread. She's a happy child. She's not depressed. And then you take a child, like you said, you had everything going to the private schools and there you are. So it's not about what we have or don't have.
Yeah.
Mental health issues are mental health issues. And we should not say because you have this, you shouldn't be feeling like this. And I think that's one of the things that society hasn't done really, hasn't done justice on, you know, in terms of bringing the issue of mental health to the fore. But I mean, thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you this next question. How do you think, and I think it links to what you were saying, how do you think societal attitudes towards mental health have evolved over the years? And what more needs to be done to reduce stigma and increase awareness?
So I think obviously in the space of mental health, there definitely has been a shift from ignorance to accepting that these things are real, that they are tangible things. They're not fiction or anything like that. But I think, like I said, in our communities especially, there is still a lot of work that has to go into taking away the stigma. Nobody chooses to be depressed. I don't choose to be sad. I don't choose to have days where I talk to God and I say, I'm done.
Sure.
Finish it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, can we just...
I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had those moments. I've sat, in my room and I'm like, God, just, I thinking about it now, just I think last month, there was a week where 3 of my friends all passed away in the same week, like consecutively.
Sure.
Right. And I remember like my mom called me because the one she knew him, so she heard about it, and she called me. And I was in the bathroom. I was sitting on the floor, on the bathroom floor. Like I took out my mats and everything, and I was sitting on the bathroom floor. And she called me. And she's like, "Why is there an echo? Where are you?" And I said, "I'm in the bathroom." And she said, "What are you doing there?" And I started crying.
Sure.
Because what I was doing was telling God, "Take me to." That's what I was doing. But how did I tell that? How did I tell my mom that's what I was doing? You know, and so
Sure.
it's. I think people need to understand that we don't choose to go through these things. Sometimes life happens, and sometimes life hits hard. Sorry,
That's
you know,
right.
and it hurts, and sometimes life is painful. And so I think taking away the notion that these things don't exist, or they're exaggerations, or we're being overly emotional, or those kind of things is important, so that we can create spaces where people who are going through these things can come and say, "You know what, Tinashe, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not okay. I'm really sad. My friend died last week, and I'm grieving, but I still have to go to school tomorrow.
That's it.
I have an exam in the
Sure.
morning. Can we talk about it?" Do you know what I mean? So I think those are the shifts that need to happen, and I think that there are spaces where those things are happening, and it's encouraging to see.
Yeah.
I think I always think about my Instagram, my YouTube,
Yeah.
and just even seeing the amount of people who interact with my work. That in itself shows
Yep.
that what I'm speaking about
Yeah.
is stuff people relate to.
That's right.
Because there wouldn't be 30,000 people watching a poem about something they don't relate to.
Yeah.
And that just shows how many of us are going through these things, but how small the number of us who are advocating for these things are. And I think that balance is what we need to try and bridge.
That's right. Sure. Such wisdom from a 21-year-old. I cannot believe. What was I doing at 21? Can't even take stock of that anyway. Tari, we've touched a lot on mental health issues. And I think that's at the core of really what society needs at the moment. And I really just wanted to get that out of you. Yeah. Let's touch a bit on women's rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Take me through that journey and what you do in that space.
So with women's rights, like I already said, I'm an only child, and I'm an only girl child. And I am an only girl child in an African household, So you can already kind of see the connotations that come with that. But I think I'm blessed to have parents who, as I said, were empowering me from a young age. So I think I was always very aware of my potential to be great. My parents made sure I knew my potential to be great, despite the fact that I was a girl. But then I'd go into other spaces where I see girls who have the potential to be great, but are being told, because you're a girl.
No way.
No.
Sure.
And I was like, no way. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And so I think that's kind of where my passion for women's rights came, and for advocating for girls to be able to say, I want to be a neurosurgeon. And for our communities and all of us around to say, yes, go and do it.
Yeah.
Not, okay, but what about your husband and kids? To reshape the questions that we ask our girls and women. And I think that, like I said, again, that also comes from my mom and the work that she does and the spaces that she's worked and what she's exposed me to. Right. In those spaces, and women's rights, I think people often limit what women's rights kind of entail. Yeah. Right? Like we say, women's rights, and we think, okay, access to education.
That's it.
We think, the right not to be beat up at home, for example.
But period poverty.
Or period poverty. Those kind of the simple taglines that we know. But I think women's rights is such a dynamic field, because everything within women's rights has a knock-on effect
that's
on
true.
everything else. Because as you said, we talked about mental health. I can talk about mental health and relate it to women's rights. Because if I do not have the right as a girl child to reach my potential, best believe I am going to have moments where I am depressed.
That's right. Yo.
Do you know what I mean? If I do not have a right as a girl child to use my voice in spaces, best believe there are going to be moments
It's true.
where I want to silence myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it kind of follows on from each other, and then we also add things like gender-based violence and femicide, and that's such. That one is also really personal to me. You know,
Sure.
like that
Tell
one.
us.
That one is personal to me. That one, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why violence against someone exists for the fact that they are of a different gender. It just, in my mind, I don't get it.
Like how?
Like, how is that, you know? But if we look at the statistics, to a lot of people, it makes sense.
That's it.
To a lot of
Sure.
people, it makes sense.
Sure.
And I think, you know, having
Sure.
those kind of conversations around that, and also investigating why do these things exist in our communities? What are we doing as community, as a society, that perpetuates, you know, this violence against our women, against our mothers, against our sisters, against daughters? You know, what is happening in society that a man, you know, can come up to me right now and say, I want your number, and I say no, and he slaps
Feels
me.
like you can. Yeah. Sure.
What
is going on in their mind?
what did we teach that boy
Sure.
because he was a boy before he became a man? He was a boy with a mom.
Sure.
There's no way he would ever do that to his mother.
Sure.
So what, in the steps from him going from boy to man, did we as society tell him? What rights did we give him?
Jeez.
How did we empower him? How did we give him that sense of entitlement? What did we do? You know? And I think
Sure.
answering those questions are really important, because
That's
that's how we find you know, solutions. Because they don't just, there is no man who just wants to be violent.
Sure.
But there are men who are told they can be violent. There's no man who just wants to beat someone up. But there are men who are told, if you want something, beat someone up.
They were programmed
They
to
were
think like,
programmed to think like that.
Jeez.
Just like us as girl children, unfortunately, are programmed to take it.
yeah, that's
When
so
your
true.
husband beats you up,
Oh, man.
stay strong.
Sure.
It happens.
Sure.
Make him some pop and place. He'll be okay. You know, you go home and you're crying at home. He beat me.
Sure.
He beat me. And your aunt will be there. Yeah, I know, you know, men have temper sometimes. What did you say to him? That's what will be the first question. What did you say to him, Terry? How did you rile him up?
That's right.
Yeah, but if you saw he was angry when he came home from work, why did you try and... What do you mean? He beat me. That's where the sentence should have stopped.
That's
the
it.
police should be here now.
Yeah,
Why
that's
are we-
enough to
Why are we
justify
still
it?
talking
Exactly.
about what I said to him
Sure.
or what happened? But that we're programmed that way. We're programmed that way. If even when you're outside with your friends, you know, like we're at university, you know, we go out, we have, you know, we go for lunch and stuff. And if a guy becomes aggressive, you know, some random man you met on the street, if someone becomes aggressive, immediately you're thinking, I shouldn't have worn this skirt.
That's right. Jeez.
I shouldn't have smiled. I shouldn't have smiled when he walked past. Now I can't even smile.
Sure.
I can't even smile because
Sure.
my smiling allows
Oh, wow.
a man to, you know, do
Oh,
what he
wow.
wants. And why am I programmed to think that way?
Yeah. Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So those
Wow.
are kind of in that space, I think.
Wow.
I mean, I could go on about this one.
I love it.
This one I could
I
go
love
on
it.
for the rest
I love
of my
the
life.
passion in it. I love the point
But,
you're bringing about.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones.
Jeez, Tari, sure. No, I'm enjoying this. I'm really enjoying listening to you, and I'm learning a lot as well. It's key that we look deeper than the surface, because it's not a one-sided issue.
Yeah.
It's also the girl child and the women. What were we taught? How were we programmed?
Exactly.
I think it's almost like a whole reset and a change of perspective that needs to happen in society, and I think more so in Africa. Whew. I was at an event yesterday, and I was listening to Visite Mbekwayo and Kwame, and he says, futurist Kwame, and he said that the problems and the issues that we we have in Africa can only be resolved by the people in Africa. So we're not going to be waiting for some savior to come through and help us. We are going to have to, as a society, help ourselves. If it means we're going to research the way we think, we're going to do it for ourselves. We're going to raise platforms. We're going to raise women like Tari that are actually advocating for these things and bringing the right perspective and balance to it. She's not saying it's the men. She's not saying it's the women. She's saying all of us need to come together and fix our mindsets and fix that which has been programmed on us so that we create a better future and a better society, going forward. Pass it on to the next generation, they say.
Definitely.
Tari, I could have you here all day. I mean, I am enjoying this. Absolutely. But there's one thing before you leave us, ma'am. I'm going to ask you, because you're such a beautiful poet, I'm going to please ask you and throw you in the deep end to please give us one of your poems or just do like a free flow for us so that people really just hear it from you and know that I had you on this platform. And then, if you want to hear more of this, obviously, again, we will be sharing her details, her social media pages, and so that you can get in touch with her. Tari,
I actually came prepared for this.
Oh wow!
Because I just knew you were gonna pull something like this.
I love me a prepared
I came prepared, a prepared lady.
There we go.
Yes. So I'll give you. Yes. Okay. Since we just finished talking about women's rights, this is called Alternate Reality in Which I Am Unafraid to Be Woman. In conversation with my best friend, I tell her about a dream I had. An alternate reality in which I am unafraid to be woman. Here, I did not learn the words rape, sexual violence, and abuse before my first period. My period, in fact, is just a period, a biological function of divine creation intended for me to birth life, not a signpost for men to call me ready. When the 9th grade math teacher puts his hand on my thigh, accidentally, of course, his rough hands scratching at my skin almost desperately, I break his arm. Here, I hear his bones crack and smile. Here, I do not cry alone in a bathroom and keep quiet for confusion or lack of vocabulary. At the party, when the boy suddenly pushes me up against the wall, I do not lose my breath. His hands do not find their way up my skirt. I am not shaking. He does not tell me I want it, to stop fighting. I look at him, and he spontaneously combusts, bursting into beautiful flames, and I smile.
Wow.
I gave you just a little bit.
Wow, Tari. I was like in it. I'm seeing the visuals. Like, go, why did you stop? Jeez, powerful. Well done, man.
Thank you.
We need a book. We need a book. Help me, guys. We need a book.
No, I actually have been. I was talking to my mom about that. Actually, I definitely want to kind of think about publishing. Maybe people would like that. I don't know. And
definitely.
you have your book, so obviously I have to follow in the footsteps. Yes. Yes. For sure. Maybe next year. 2024, we might have a book.
We will have a book.
I'll keep you posted.
Alrighty, ma'am. Thank you so much, Tari. Thank you for honoring this platform. Thank you really for coming to the Faith in Action podcast. Thank you for the work that you are doing in Africa. I have no doubt that you're going to be one of those greatest leaders, women leaders in Africa that are going to rise up and really advocate for these key things that are strongly and really desperately needed in our society to change the narrative going forward. So well done on the beautiful work. A 21-year-old dynamic young lady, Tariro Nyamayaro. Tari, do you want to give us your social media pages, I think, just for the audience?
No problem. So you can find me on Instagram at Tari_Nyamayaro, on YouTube at Tari Nyamayaro, and on Twitter at Tari Nyamayaro.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. I'm still going to tag those in the comment section so that you guys can have easy access to her platforms. And for those young girls, that woman out there that really desperately needs this help and these platforms to really come and share what you're going through and get the help that you need, don't hesitate. This is the platform. We've got Tari here who leads this platforms and will be able to assist you in the right direction. Again, it's a wrap of another episode of the Faith in Action podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for listening in. Until we meet